Well, welcome everyone to the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Bronxville. I am Stuart McIntosh, will be chairing tonight. I'm joined, starting at this end, by Janie Regan, Charlie Law, Marty Muir, and Mary Ellen Carpenter. We also have the village superintendent, Paul Taft, I'm sure you all know, as well as Christina Batista, who is the administrator for both planning and zoning. So, approval of an application requires the majority consent of this board. So all 5 of us will be voting tonight. We have 2 applications. We're going to start with 30 Forest and then followed by 35 Prescott. So who is presenting for 30 Forest Lane?
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Collingham. I'm the architect for Nick and Jessica Marino for the 30 Forest Lane addition alteration project. This project, like I said, is an addition of a one-car garage, an attached one-car garage with a mudroom, family room, and a full basement, as well as a deck, a wood deck in the rear yard, along with some other site improvements, including driveway, as well as some regrading of the rear yard and a new stormwater management system in the rear yard as well. So the reason for this project, or the trigger of this project, was an issue with flooding with runoff in the rear of the property. Paul, could you go down to some of the photos, maybe the aerial image from Google? Go a little further. Yeah, that one at the top. So this is 30 Forest Lane. It's a unique property in that it fronts on 3 different streets. You have Forest Lane in the front. You have Middle Road on the side, the right side, which is a dead-end road. And then you also have Alder Lane in the rear, which is another dead-end road. The other interesting fact about this property, and Paul, if you go up to the contour map, this property is located, or the rear of this property is located at the bottom of a figurative bowl of landmass. So if you see the contour, this is from the Westchester GIS mapping service. If you look at this circular region right there, that's contour 170. And if you look at the surrounding area, the grade or the elevation just rises in a significant amount of area. You have to go to the other side of the old Concordia College for the grade to slope back down below 170, and you have to go all the way to the golf course to get below 170 again. So in every direction, north, east, southwest, the grade rises, and the back of our property here is at the bottom. This is the sort of the bottom of the bowl of a great mass of land in which we get runoff and during heavy storms accumulate at the back of this property. Now there is a drain, a storm sewer system, kind of like right here at the back, at the dead end of Alder Lane, which works sometimes. It doesn't work great. It's oftentimes inadequate for heavy rainstorms. I know that the DPW has been pumping it and trying to make it work better. But at the end of the day, this property has experienced some major flooding issues, the worst being with Ida, in that they had 3 feet of water in their basement. So it's an issue that's unsettling, disconcerting for the owners, and just frankly inconvenient because it happens every so often during heavy rainstorms where the whole village gets inundated, but they seem to bear the brunt of it given the topographic situation going on. So the Marinos hired me to come up, or help come up with a solution to mitigate some of the flooding issues. We know that the village is working on their end to mitigate what they can do, but we feel that it's a better idea to hit it from 2 fronts in trying to alleviate this problem on the private level while the village handles the public level. So, Paul, if you want to go to some of the photos now. Yeah, maybe up to that aerial again. Sorry, back up. to that like 3D aerial image. I'll talk about the property. So currently, the way to access the garage is through the back, the rear. There's a driveway curb cut here, and there's a two-car garage at the basement level. Now, that is the primary entrance where water can enter the home. There's also a side basement door there as well. So our intentions were to construct a poured concrete cast-in-place wall that would act as the first line of defense against water entering the basement. So we were thinking, let's put on an addition in the back. We'll build a solid concrete wall. We'll waterproof it, and that will be the first line of defense. And then we were thinking, well, what do we do about a garage? Where are we going to park now if we're eliminating the garage in the rear of the property? So we thought, maybe we can build a detached garage structure somewhere in this area so that you can still have parking, but that doesn't solve the issue of the water entering the property. And also, not to mention, you're about 100 feet from the house by the time you do park and carry your groceries in, so that didn't seem like a viable solution. So now we're starting to think, where else could we put a garage where it's a little more convenient, maybe an attached garage. So we said, why don't we do an attached garage kind of in this area here, where we can enter from Middle Road instead of Alder Lane in the back, sort of what the neighbor has right here on Middle. That's 20 Forest, I believe. So we said, let's do that. We'll still construct the wall in the back. We'll waterproof it. Now we have a nice garage on the side here with an attached mudroom that's closer to where we have to go in the main heart of the home. And then in doing so, we looked at what we're going to lose, though, in the back. So like I mentioned, the two-car garage currently that exists in the basement, plus you have this sort of offshoot of a parking space there. Then you could fit probably another 4 cars stacked tandem in the driveway. So that's about 7 spaces that we are forfeiting by eliminating that driveway entrance. So we designed a wider driveway at the new attached garage so that we can accommodate approximately 3 cars in the new design. Paul, maybe you want to go to one of the renderings of the side. So we said if we have 1 space in the new garage, and then we can have we're proposing a 30-foot curb cut, so that we can accommodate 3 cars outside. That would be 4 cars, because off-street parking is oftentimes hard to come by, and we don't want to lose too many spaces. So that was kind of the rationale for having a wider curb cut there. And then this Middle Road here is at the dead end, directly after this driveway here. So we weren't overly concerned about too much traffic or the aesthetic or the view from that street because it's not traveled down. And so in terms of the parking that would be situated, our 1 required parking space would be situated indoors in the garage. And then, like I said, the rear current driveway would be eliminated. So at the end of the day, as a net, we would be actually decreasing the amount of coverage, or decreasing the amount of impervious on the property by about 1,000 square feet. We would also be increasing the amount of open space on the property by about roughly 1,000 square feet, which is a good thing. However, we would be increasing the amount of coverage by about 800 square feet. However, the existing amount of coverage is already over the allotment of 22.5%. So after the project is said and done, we would be increasing the total coverage, and we'd be going to 33.6% from about 28.4% existing. So that's one variance that we're seeking. The curb cut is the other variance that we're seeking, and the setback for this garage structure here is another variance that we are seeking. The proposed is 10.25 feet setback to the Middle Lane property line, and the requirement is 30 feet. Also, in terms of by removing that existing driveway in the rear, we are actually reducing the amount of impervious coverage on the site by about 1,000 square feet, like I mentioned before. And so drainage is required for any new stormwater drainage systems are required for any net increase in impervious surfaces. So even though we are at a decrease, a significant decrease, we are still proposing to install a new stormwater management system in the rear yard, because that is the primary goal of this project, is to help alleviate the concerns of flooding. So even though there is a system in the front yard currently that takes care of some of or all of the existing roof areas through downspouts and underground piping to this existing system, we designed a preliminary system here in the rear yard that would handle the additional roof areas that are being brought about from this addition project. And then last to note, we would be sealing up the existing driveway entrance here in the back with this stone wall. And this grade would be infilled so that we can hope to raise the level in the backyard a little bit, so that these new stormwater chambers would have a chance to be up a little higher and not as close to groundwater, because that's also, an issue that we see in this property. So that's pretty much the rationale behind the design that we came up with. And we think that the aesthetic of the design also fits within the character of the existing home and also the neighborhood. We tried to stay in line with the same materials, same colors, same windows, but to give it a little more flair. In the rear, we have a series of, if you want to go to maybe some of the renderings, Paul, of the rear of the house, just talk a bit about the architecture. So as I was saying, we're fitting within the current scheme or the current aesthetic of the home. You go down more to the rear. So the top image is the existing rear of the property. This is the current garage back there, so we would be looking to infill this driveway. And then the addition, which is situated in front of it, would be this family room with the deck off of that, this grade that comes up roughly 1 to 2 feet about. And then this is the new garage structure here. And so, yeah, just the overall design aesthetic, we think, complements the existing house pretty well.
One question.
Yep.
The new driveway, the 30-foot
Yep.
driveway, which includes the curb cut, what's the surface going to be? Or what's the intention?
Yeah, we originally had planned to just do asphalt, but we would be open to discussion if you thought there was a better material, such as a permeable paver or something of that nature. We would be open to.
Well, that's sort of what I'm driving at. Is
Yeah.
If we're trying to remediate flood issues,
For sure, yeah.
it might be better to have a permeable surface in your driveway than asphalt or something that's impermeable. So,
Yep, I think that's a good point.
And what would be those options, do you think?
we know.
Do you
Either
know?
gravel or a permeable paver that readily absorbs water rather than creating more runoff into the street.
Right.
Zach might.
Rear driveway is gravel,
Oh, it is?
so they might not be opposed to gravel. Sometimes
Right.
people are anxious about gravel because
Right.
it tracks in the house and all the different negative aspects of gravel.
Right.
Or
Right.
plowing it, taking care of it, but because they're used to gravel, that could also be considered.
Right, okay, okay.
Okay.
What
So-
becomes of the old garage? I'm just curious, you just close it off, or,
So the addition would situate in front of that.
yeah?
And the old garage, I think we have on paper as becoming a gym, a fitness
Oh.
room.
Oh, that's part of it, okay, so it's part of the new addition,
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I saw that.
okay.
And so the width of the new garage, the width of the new driveway would be what?
30 feet.
yeah, slightly under 30 feet, because the curb cut itself was 30 feet, and with a little flare, you're probably at about 28 feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, you see, that's the reason I'm asking the question. The
Yep,
curb cut is 30, so that means the driveway's a bit narrower,
correct.
correct?
Yep,
And what would that be?
roughly 28 feet, maybe
Tw-
29.
28 feet. Okay.
And that's to accommodate 3 cars, you're saying roughly?
Correct, yep.
Is that what it has across the street at 24th? Did you notice? Is that,
I'm not sure exactly the dimension
Does
of
the
that, but
picture
it
show
looks, it looks like it can accommodate at least 3
similar
cars.
size? Yeah, like that. Theirs is wider than 30? No? I saw the picture, I was just wondering how wide theirs was.
Yeah, that one right there.
So those are the only two driveways on that dead end.
Right, I know, yeah, I was over there. It's dead end.
And
And
it doesn't look like they'll connect, like one will be further back than the other, so they won't be in each
Yeah,
other's way.
our driveway starts at this walkway here, and it's in this area.
So I guess my one question is, most people in Bronxville don't put their car in their own garage, so 4 cars, I'm just surprised by the size of the driveway. What was, I know you're trading off a long driveway where you have access, but the need for, I'm just thinking the smaller the driveway, the more appealing it would be as a change, and we're trying to minimize variances, so.
Part of the process, though, is that you know, when they have guests or family come to visit, they have the ability now for them to park behind the house, given the length of the driveway, because you can't park overnight on the street. And so they have the ability to have 2 people park in the driveway and still drive out of your garage to work or.
Even on a day-to-day childcare, us being home, they're for that, and there's so much, still won't be parking on the street anyway. In the neighborhood, that it's always.
Eventually, we for kids, so eventually one of them will call it, would be like that, so.
Been there.
Yeah, your guess would be correct.
Yeah, they had to walk.
and so what would be the length of that driveway from garage to the street?
It's about 18.5 feet from the garage door to the curb.
Okay, basically the length of one large,
Yeah, and that's how we
Vehicle.
derived our front yard setback, was saying, let's put a car there, and then we can work our way back with the garage dimensions.
and Paul, that's the reason that does not trigger another variance, because it's within 20 feet of the garage, the length of the driveway, correct? Correct. Yeah, okay.
Also, I mean, this is considered 2 front yards, but it's not really 2 front yards. You know,
Correct,
you
yeah,
know,
it's a
even though
dead
you're
end.
on a street, we can see it's the side. So
Well, we
not as big
have
a concern on the
bizarre
side.
way of characterizing the front yard in
yeah,
this
it's
village.
really not a front yard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have 3 of them,
We'll
too.
we'll see that in the next one, I think. yeah.
Right. And just out of curiosity, this drainage system that you're installing, in layman's terms, how does that work? Are you pumping the water somewhere else, or?
For the Coltech system?
Yeah,
Well, keep in mind, this is a preliminary system, a preliminary design. We will be engaging with a civil engineer to design the final system, and that is a whole separate review with Paul and AJ.
okay,
But in layman's terms, it would be a system that stores water and lets it slowly dissipate into the ground over time.
Feel like a driveway.
But there are a lot of factors to consider when designing a system, such as the percolation rate of the soil, the depth of groundwater, if there's any ledge rock underground. So it needs to be further investigated, but what we have on the drawing is just to show our intent, that we are thinking about these things, and they're important to us, and they will be accomplished if we get past this hurdle.
okay. So Paul, just a clarification, so that you and AJ then have to review that and approve?
Yes, the application will go to AJ for, he's our consulting engineer.
Right.
For the drainage, so he'll do a full review of this one. You know, mind you, the stormwater runoff system is for stormwater running off, not really for the flooding that occurs. They're 2 separate things.
Okay.
This is to capture, you know, the gutters, the catch basins, maybe the driveway, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And with the addition that you're putting on, are you putting any sump pumps in that basement? Or are there other
Yeah, there
means
will-
of
there would be sump
remediation
pumps.
that's taking place?
Correct. Given the history, I think we need a belt and suspenders approach here, redundancy in how we attack the stormwater.
Welcome to Bronxville.
A
Flooding
beach
is an
community.
We all have it. We all have it.
Waterfront property.
But not a flood zone.
Okay, we have such a large audience here, members of the Bronxville High School attending. Any questions from the public? No questions? Okay. Folks, any more questions? Yeah. Okay, so before I get to the resolution, just a clarification. This is for you, Paul, on this. If we include in the resolution the requirement for permeable material, that is something then that you would supervise and approve? How would that work?
Yes, I would use AJ's expertise in that, but, something to the effect of a gravel or a permeable paver, that type of thing could be designed as part of the stormwater runoff.
Okay, so I'm going to ask my colleagues, are you comfortable using the term permeable surface in the resolution?
Yes.
Okay. And then we would leave it up to you, Paul and AJ,
Okay.
to work with the applicant.
I mean, the one other thing that he spoke about that I just want to make sure you've seen it is the fill that will be put in the backyard, about roughly 2 feet, and just whether, you understand that, that's all. I want to make sure you see that.
Well, let's just make sure we're clear on that. You're adding 2 feet of fill for the whole backyard?
Roughly 1 to 2 feet. You can see some of these contour lines here. This is 174, and this is 172. And these are some of the existing contours. This is 172 here, so we're taking this line and dragging it down this way. And then the 174, we're dragging it where the 172 is. So we're shifting the pitch of the backyard a little bit. And that's to help fight some of the rising water levels, but also give us more soil depth where the stormwater system is going to be located, so that we're not too close to groundwater, so that the system can perform better than having it sitting in groundwater all the time.
Right. So, Paul, I would assume that that part of the project is really to be reviewed by AJ and you. That's not zoning.
Yes.
Okay.
Again,
You're just bringing that to our attention.
I would bring that to
Okay.
AJ, and we discussed that already.
Right.
So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Okay, I'm not sure this is relevant to the variance, but are you intending to landscape the backyard or plant trees or gardens? Okay. I mean, that also helps to, soak up
Absorb, yeah.
some of the water, so there's a practical reason for that, too. Okay.
Okay, all right, so let me propose a resolution that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant to the residents of 30 Forest Lane the following variances. Section 310-10D, corner lot, required 30 feet, existing 20.4 feet, proposed 10.25, variance required 19.75 feet. Section 310-10E, building coverage, required 22.5%, existing 28.4%, proposed 33.6%, variance required 11.1%, or 1,736 square feet. Section 310-22D, parking in front yard, required maximum 16 feet for the curb cut. Proposed curb cut is 30 feet. Variance required for curb cut 14 feet. Furthermore, the new driveway shall have a permeable surface to be approved by the village superintendent. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Marty. Your thoughts?
I approve the variance. I appreciate the depth of your review and understanding the topography of the area, and it seems like a very appropriate adjustment. I like the additional green space, so I think that's a real positive. We're always encouraging that.
Thank you.
Great. Janie?
I agree. I approve the variance. I think you've done a great design. It keeps in with the neighborhood. You're solving a problem that really wasn't your fault with the drainage situation. And, yeah, I think it's great. And that you're amenable to doing the permeable surface, that's really helpful, because we're trying to find that in our town everywhere, so, thanks. I approve it.
Thank you. Charlie?
I like the look of the finished product. I like the look of the house as it is, by the way. I went over there last night and crept around a little bit, but
You'll always see us.
just to see what was up. But I do think that the getting rid of, the driveway, increasing the permeable surfaces is a worthwhile trade-off for, the additional parking and the structure and covering a little bit more of the property. So given all of that, I would vote in favor of the variance.
Great, thanks, Charlie.
Do vote in favor of the variance.
Mary Ellen?
I concur. I think it looks good. You're doing all the right things, and I think it'll be nice to have that backyard all be green space to look at as opposed to the,
Right. Great. Okay, and I concur with my colleagues, so the variances are granted. Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody.
I apologize for being late because of all the water outside.
Yeah.
Good luck, Zach.
So long.
That's Zach, yeah. Zach Malpass. I haven't seen him in years either.
Right, but what's on the other side of it?
houses.
Pardon? You
Yeah,
sure?
I remember him.
He was, when I went back there at the end of that driveway, it was just,
Oh, that's the end of Alder Lane, but there are houses on the other side.
Kitty Hickey's house.
Oh, right,
And
Jerry.
Jerry.
Yeah.
And
oh, okay, I thought on the other side of the driveway.
Oh, yeah.
It was the forest.
Floyd went to St. Lawrence
Oh, okay, yeah.
with him, and I see Floyd in Watch Hill, because he and Caroline have
okay.
a place in Watch Hill. But I hadn't seen.
So it's sort of
Oh,
a
right.
combo, so.
Right, okay, so there, yeah. that- I was
Yeah, when I
looking
first
at
walked in, I was like,
So, yeah, some will go there, but
well, a funnier thing happened. Is that gone? No.
Yeah, he's,
Oh,
oh,
he's
well,
right there.
And out here, I'm gonna go
that's
get
what
it
I think
right
is
now.
happening.
Oh,
For you to
okay,
put that up on.
it's no problem, I think
I can
all,
get it on TV if I
oh, you- okay,
put it there.
all right.
Oh, they are popping.
They're moving, yeah.
Yeah, we have our place
There's
out.
just not a lot.
Peter, are we good to go? Where's he going?
How about your place?
yes.
Where's he going?
We have one person. People want something newly constructed,
Is it still,
they don't want to.
is it still on?
Put any money into it.
That's what I call them, the two.
Hey, Peter? Are we still live? Okay. All right, so why don't we get started with the second application?
But he didn't look like. Okay, number. Next.
Okay.
I think he's setting up.
We like all the kids.
Oh, does he need an easel? Okay. Okay, so who is going to be presenting 35 Prescott?
Nicholas Shirai from Hudson Engineering, how's everybody?
Good. Okay, thank you.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
They're leaving. What, is it you?
One and done.
Just stick around, this is going to be good. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Nicholas Shirai with Hudson Engineering, representing Mr. Thomas Hansen, the owner at 35 Prescott Avenue. He's here in the audience. Tonight, we're seeking an area variance in accordance with Municipal Code 310-22D to widen Mr. Hansen's existing gravel driveway. The comprehensive project involves the removal of the existing gravel driveway and installing asphalt driveway with its own independent stormwater system that will also collect and exfiltrate runoff from Mr. Hansen's garage, as you can see in the photo there. Currently, the roof leaders flow overland. The existing driveway is approximately 18 feet in width at each end, starting from the garage down to the village right away. And at its narrowest point, it's about 12.25 feet. As, you can see that kind of indentation there as you enter in from the right of way. We are seeking to widen the existing driveway to 18 feet throughout the entire length of the driveway. Prescott Avenue, I'm sure you guys are all familiar, is a very narrow roadway. Street parking is extremely limited in that area, which makes it very difficult to accommodate parking for temporary visitors, deliveries, trade persons, what have you. These temporary parkers most often use Mr. Hansen's driveway as they're, dropping stuff off, or if they're working on something, and that inhibits the ability to have two vehicles use the driveway at the same time. Often someone has to leave for someone to get out and come back. So it's a very difficult situation as far as having to use the driveway when this occurs. As you know, it can be assumed that this sorry, I lost my train of thought. We did a study on about within a 500-foot radius of all properties within 500 feet of 35 Prescott, and we found that over 64% of these properties have non-compliant driveways, meaning excess of 16 feet. We can assume that since the street parking is so limited, it's contributed to so many properties being non-compliant. We do not believe that the requested variance is substantial, as the existing driveway is already 18 feet in width. We're only seeking to widen the narrow area that does not allow two vehicles simultaneously maneuver in and out of the driveway. In addition to reducing the need for street parking on Prescott with the widening of the driveway, we are also including a stormwater system that is capable of handling the runoff from the new the new widened driveway and the roof area for the existing garage. And this new stormwater system is capable of handling the village-required 50-year storm, but is over-designed to also handle up to the 100-year storm. So it's more than capable of what is required. If you guys have any questions.
Well, if you were here earlier, you probably know where I'm going with this.
Okay.
I did go over to your house, beautiful house, by the way, and I noticed that the current driveway is cinder or pebbles?
Gravel.
Gravel, okay. Is it possible, as we discussed in the last one, to consider a permeable surface, or is there a reason you can't do that in this case?
So the thing with permeable driveways, maintenance is difficult, and oftentimes homeowners don't really pay attention to that, and in the wintertime it can get clogged. It's not very easy to maintain. We are, like I said, with the asphalt driveway, there's going to be a trench drain at the end which will collect all the runoff. So we're actually improving that condition. Right now, there is nothing collecting any runoff from that driveway. So with the new driveway, everything is going to be collected at that point, at the trench drain, and like I said, discharged to the Coltech system that we're proposing underneath the driveway. The advantage over asphalt driveway is that it's much easier to maintain, much easier for the homeowner to use, and like I said, the maintenance is
I
not easy
do
for
understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly plowing and all of that, although
Exactly.
I will comment that we get a lot more rain these days than we do snow in Bronxville. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. No, I understand that. I'm just saying that if we are talking about flood remediation, well, I mean, it's certainly in your.
So, I mean, in the case of a permeable driveway, you still need to treat it as if it is impervious. There's a storage, usually a gravel base underneath, And oftentimes what will happen is when we're designing these permeable pavers, there's like permeable surfaces, there is some kind of a pipe system underneath that is sent to like a redundant stormwater system. So, I mean, like I said, the maintenance thing is really like the albatross on this. Like, there really isn't an advantage over better stormwater capabilities for a permeable paver over an impermeable paver.
Okay, I'm just asking the question, that's all.
No problem.
Is the French drain then, the pitch is so that the driveway will naturally float to that? Is that?
Correct. So we're proposing 1% slope. We can even move that up to 1.5, but typically 1% is what we look to do.
And then where does that water go once it goes down that drain?
So the trench drain, as shown on my sheet C2 there, it's piped. There's a concrete sump box on the end, which has a 6-inch pipe that goes to another structure, which acts as like a junction point. You can use it to clean out the system, maintain it over the seasons, and then from there it goes into two underground infiltration chambers. They're Cultex, like the gentleman in the last presentation said. We're
So
using the
it's
same.
self-contained on the property? It's
Self-contained,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So let's talk about this maintenance, because it didn't seem to be a problem with the other applicant, didn't even come up. And, you know, because this is a big issue for the village. Now, you might say a little small driveway, what's the big deal? But one of the issues we're facing with, there are going to be other applications coming. So we have to look at the precedent here. So let me ask the question again. I mean, maybe there's some additional cost with maintenance, but do you have an issue with working with the village to put a permeable driveway in there? Because that's what you have right now.
I think overall it's a preference to have an asphalt driveway. I know that maintenance is a secondary, or, you know, it's the preference of the village to have permeable driveways, but again, there really is no advantage as far as stormwater. I'm just trying to understand the reason to have a permeable surface over an impervious surface. Is it just the preference of the village, or is it more to deal with stormwater?
That's it, exactly. Yeah.
So what you're trying to say is between the drainage and the asphalt, you'll end up in the same place as if you had a permeable surface, with as little flooding in the neighborhood and on the
Right.
property.
I mean, the biggest reason why to not have a pervious is permeable surface is the upkeep. That is really the biggest thing. I mean, with asphalt, it's pretty easy to maintain. Like I said, you're salting, you're removing snow during the wintertime, and with the stormwater system we're proposing, we are more than handling the stormwater
Problem
requirements
posed
from
by the
village.
asphalt will be taken care of by the drain, basically. If
Everything,
there was a
yes.
drainage problem with asphalt.
Correct.
This
That's
will-
why we.
This will solve it.
That's why we have over-designed the system. It's more than just what the village requires. We're going above and beyond what the village is requiring for a stormwater system, because we are well aware of the village's, concerns about flooding in that area, and that's why we have tried to address that concern by over-engineering the stormwater system. Again, it's really a preference, but again, the ease of maintenance is really the reason why that we're proposing impervious.
Can I just ask, what kind of flooding have you had in your driveway at all up till now? Has there been any, really?
Stormwater, the village's stormwater drains.
Yeah.
are totally fine.
Okay.
So it's no,
It's just, everything goes smoothly already, so it's fine.
There's a stormwater drain sewer, I don't know what it's called, sanitary sewer. or-
Sanitary sewer.
Sanitary sewer?
Stormwater drain right at the end of the driveway,
Uh-huh.
and the water just flows right.
And you don't get flooding at all, and it doesn't come up? Okay.
But now it'll go into the drain, you put in a lot of it will.
What's going to that drain is coming from around the neighborhood, Prescott.
Right, but I mean, your drain, your drain will go, your driveway will go into your drain, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
not even go. So it's a net improvement, because stormwater from our property is not going down on the street, it's going to be caught in that handle.
Right, separately.
Yeah, it's all contained on the property. Nothing will reach the villages right away. Everything will be collected at that trench drain, then piped back under the driveway into those Caltech chambers.
I don't know if it's clear, but like also above the existing garage has a flat roof, and the drain from that just goes right out like spout and shoots water. And the roof's not a lot, so we are proposing to add that and tie that into the stormwater management. So we're net, I think, doing an improvement by adding this, above and beyond just the allow for taking
Paul, a question for you. Again, this drainage system has to be approved by AJ and you?
Yes, and
Okay.
actually, we've done some work with the applicant already. As you see up here, they did a perk test on it already. And actually, I think we did it twice because the initial, it does have very good perk. So there's, very good drainage where they propose to put this. So AJ has looked at this and we'll do a final review of it if this were to be approved. Yes, yeah.
Right, so unlike the previous folks, we've already done all the tests and
Yeah.
modified all
The conditions are very suitable for what we're proposing, infiltration into the soil. So we've done all the tests, we've done all our homework, and the system will work.
And Paul, do you have any thoughts on permeable driveways, given your experience and given what the village is trying to accomplish?
I do agree pervious pavement is fraught with maintenance issues. If it's not maintained, it will start to fail. I think what Nick was trying to explain is the Caltech's easy to understand as a drainage system, but when you do pervious pavement, that's a different kind of drainage system. So both of them are drainage systems, they're just different types. Like we have another one would be rain gardens. So those are all systems that are in the New York State DEC manual that are different stormwater drainage systems that an engineer would utilize based on site conditions and whatnot. I think pervious pavers, in my mind, seem a little better, and at least maybe those could be pulled up. I don't really know as much about them, but I would tend to agree that if it isn't maintained, then they start to fail. What we have started to do in the village with these systems, the Caltechs, is prior to the stormwater going into the Caltech, is we're requiring a 2-foot deep sump pit. So any stormwater that's coming in there that might have debris, the debris drops to the bottom, and that can be maintained.
So they don't
whereas,
get all clogged.
yeah, whereas, just a few years ago, we would have not required that. And we're even seeing some systems that might be 10 years old, and they're clogged up because of that. So that's a big improvement. We're requiring that instead of just 6 inches of gravel under the dry well of the Caltech, we require 12 inches, so that does add more storage as well. So on that end, we're trying to make some improvements for the village. I think that, he does have good perk, and, you're looking at 2 different systems, so I don't know. That's about all I can add.
Okay.
So it sounds a little technical, I know, but Paul, so what you're saying is what they're saying, you tested already to see that there is good drainage? The town already
Yes.
tested?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Twice, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's called a perk test, so
Okay.
they'll dig down 4 6-inch hole, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, And then they'll fill that with water to a certain level and measure how long that takes to go down.
Yes.
And then they do their calculations, and then they'll base the system on that.
And we did that twice. The village already did that on this property twice?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, yeah.
And sorry, we're very conservative with our numbers. So for this design, we had a perk rate of 20 inches per hour, but I believe the rate that we're using is 15. So we've cut that significantly just to accumulate, just to take into consideration any factors that might hinder the percolation during a severe rainstorm. And as Paul alluded to, we are providing that clean-out structure next to the Cultex, which again is just a method of making it easier for the homeowner. You can walk around any house, any street, you see how clogged catch basins get. It's because no one goes around and maintains them, and they become useless. They actually cause flooding. So with this is so much easier to maintain. You have your landscaper stick like a vacuum in there, and they'll suck up all the sediment, all the leaves that have accumulated at the bottom. The system is ready to go for another 6 months. So again, with something like with a permeable surface, is just a lot more involved. If you're using salt during the winter, it can clog that area, and then it's no good. You'll have to basically get it redone. So there's just a lot of like negative impact, not impacts, but like negative aspects to the to using impermeable asphalt, which is why we're leaning towards the impervious asphalt, which is pretty standard in that neighborhood as well. So.
Anything else? Okay. So let me propose a resolution that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant to the residents of 35 Prescott the following variance. Section 310-22D, the proposed driveway width of 18 feet exceeds the maximum 12 feet, requiring a variance of 6 feet. Okay, Charlie, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, as we've discussed, I prefer a permeable surface for a lot of reasons. It's aesthetically much more pleasing. But be that as it may, I don't see this variance request as substantial, and I don't think it's going to deteriorate the quality of the neighborhood. And I do think you're taking great pains to attend to the flood remediation. So I'm voting in favor of it.
Mary Ellen?
I'm voting in favor as well. I think that the system you put in place, the previous driveway didn't have a drain at the end of it. There's other things they could have done if they didn't want to do the permeable surface. I think looks like you've taken care of that, and so I approve.
Okay. Marty?
I approve as well, and particularly I make the point that that's a very difficult area as I drove by and lived in fear that some car was coming the other way. So I completely appreciate it. I think it's good for the safety of the neighborhood to be able to put 2 cars in there. So I'm very much in favor of the variance.
Okay, Janie?
I approve as well, for all the reasons aforementioned, and I sat there for 5 minutes, and in that 5 minutes, 3 cars came up behind me. I had to move every time, so, yeah, it's busy up there.
It is.
You need the driveway, I get it completely, so, yeah, I approve.
Okay, and I agree with my colleagues, but I also do want to mention that it is, I think, still very important that we focus on installing permeable driveways. It appears that the drainage system you've installed addresses that, but anyway, congratulations.
Tythank you. And may I just add, I completely understand about the permeable surfaces in the neighborhood. We typically, this is what I do stormwater design, and we typically reserve these kind of these kind of measures as like a last resort. Like if there is no way to do infiltration for impermeable, pervious surfaces, we will resort to using a permeable surface, which allows the water to penetrate. You can have it stored underneath, or you can have it discharged somewhere else. So I completely understand, but in this situation, it's the existing soils are great for infiltration. So, what we are proposing is actually, like I said, it's just a better application for this property.
Okay, great.
Thank you, yeah, that makes sense.
Great, thank you very much, and that concludes our meeting. Thank you.